Surprise University.
A service of Babylon Theater
presents
Education warmed over.
postmodern education for the modern world.
Real SU classes.
Repackaged and produced just for you
To watch anytime.
on this station. Ooh. Tonight's program is
Hello, class. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on whether you're on time or online. I'm Rember, graduate student of Babylon Theater, especially history of, and a teaching intern here in the language department for Babble 101. And this is lecture number 6. And if you've missed classes, makeup work will not be understood. And for those of you who did do homework, well, let's just look at some of our responses. I'd like to get a group of verses together. I'd be a director and make cosmic harmony. My favorite deity names are Raisin and Fourbean, like the casserole. My friend and I think we saw a bunch of A's at the fair, but we couldn't tell which ones they were. Perceptive, all of you. So, okay. I know you're all anxious to get to the part where we're actually speaking Babble, but we're not quite done with the origin story. It's still up there in the cosmos. There's something we don't want to talk about, and that's the line. We all know there's a line, but we don't actually know much about it. You know, we talk like we do. I mean, we toe the line, we draw the line, we step up to the line, but we're not always sure where the line is or where it comes from. Well, friends, the line starts at Yui. There's the creating thought of Yui, right? And then there's the thing that Yui creates. And then there's the unfettered voice of the mind and the muted response of matter. And in the mind of Yui, all things are now, and opposites don't contradict. But in the U-verse, here, things wait and line, you know, and yes can be no here in the U-verse. Now, the language of Babble, what we're studying here in speech and in writing, is an attempt to reconcile this line. In the mind of Yui, the line is a tool, but for us, the line is a Spaniard in the works. Thanks, John. And now I got this, but I want you to listen to this, which is the ABC. Now, the ABC are the first generation to have been gotten into the U-verse. The material reality created by Yui is quite independent of the gods in Yui's Theanite family. The Thrills and the twins, they did parlor tricks with matter, but they didn't quite have Dad's power. Meanwhile, Yui's material child, the U-verse, is thriving. You got evolution and galactic and terrestrial crashes and humans, and the line is very real. But they are children of Yui, and somehow they know that. Enter the A's. Their whole shtick in the Babble verse has been about audience share, and just look, dilemma for the humans. The line is taking focus. But these are humans whose ears are attuned to the voice of Yui, a dialect of Yui's called Babble. And this first audience, the ABC, they didn't understand Babble, but they know enough to know that all power is outward flow, and that somebody is talking to them. They hear Yui in the babble. Essentially, the ABC learn Babble until they're hearing, speaking, thinking Yui. And they take it on the road. They bring all power as the outward flow into the U-verse. Cosmic, man. If that doesn't make you decide you want to learn the language, then I don't know. So let's learn to speak and write Babble, the key to understanding everything. Now, Babble can be experienced in legional ways. You can see Babble, you can hear Babble, you can touch and smell and taste Babble, both inside and outside your head. You can experience a love and relationship, loss, gain, but if you really want to interactate Babble, you need to put it into words, right? Babble is alchemy, and words are the elements. So when we understand the words, we speak them well. So before we get started here, a couple of words of advice. One, Babble is descriptive. You go back and you say, what happened? What's going on? Where was I? It's all descriptive. You don't have to know all the words. You only have to know the words that you do know. Two, read it again. Read it again. I mean, chances are you already know what you're looking for. You already know what you're looking for, right? And so, three, and this is important, log it, friends. Log it. If you are here now and you were there then and you can prove it, well, you've logged it. All right, so now some tools. Here's some tools. This is important. Very first one, I'd say, when you're in doubt, paraphrase. Paraphrase, say it a different way, find it a different, maybe give it an approximation. Well, I think it might have said this, or you can conjecture, you can say, it should have meant this, or it would have meant this in a different way, or, I think it meant something you never heard of. Also, you can vary it, add a little frill here. It's like the game of telephone, you just say, add a little something. I heard, and then I heard, nuance. These are the words of comedy right there, variance and nuance, So paraphrase. Number two, use a paradigm shift. If you're looking at something and you're not seeing what you want to see, well, repackage it. Put it in a different sort of, classify it differently, compartmentalize it, put it over here. Think about it in degrees of other. Is it more like this? Is it more like that? Is it completely other? Let's pretend it was other. Let's take our lens and go deeper, the depth of field. We can look at the big picture. Then we can look at the surface of the problem, and then we can just get right down there in the innards of it. Three, you can compare and contrast. This is something I learned way back in high school. When you're trying to figure something out, you compare it and contrast it. Is it like this? Is it like that? And how are they different? How's this different than that? Well, you could grade it. Gradate, gradation, rank it, 1, 2, 3. Rate it, good, better, best. Digress, then, earlier, once, progression, could be, out in the future, something out there, compare and contrast. Those are good tools. Those are good tools. All words are tools. So I want to go back now, because I just gave you 3 good ones, But what about the Waldo kid? What, where, when, who, and why, how? What about not? Employ not. Such and such is not. Also, time is on your side. When was it? Be there then. Was it then there? Figure out time. Every word goes two ways. I told you this at the beginning. If it is, then it isn't. If it's not, then it is. Every thought, every idea, every concept goes two ways. All right, so those are some of the tools you're going to need to understand Babble. But they are also the tools that you're going to need to speak Babble. Now, Babble itself is a tool, right? We use the language to bring the lines that separate us into unity with Yui. And the primary mode of delivery of Babble we call comedy. Yeah, right? The line is comedy. You just look how many lines there are in an asterisk. Huh? Now, I'll just give you a couple of words of advice about speaking Babble. The less you think, the more honest you are. I don't need to say more about that. It's all in your head. You gotta live in your head, because that's where Babble came from. And 3, this is a good one not everybody knows. It's not true that there's a line between you and the audience. Sometimes the audience is you. Okay, now we've talked about the line and we've talked about tools. You could be speaking Babble tomorrow. Here's the homework, and this is how you're going to do it. A couple of times every day, take every thought, perception, sensation, everything that's coming in, and say them out loud. Descriptive statements of fact. Just talk out loud. Just talk out loud, no matter where you are. Yeah. Number 2, employ not. Imply not, I should say, in all your vocal interactions with others. Just, so and so, not. You pick some words, not. Number 3, pick some words, yeah, and investigate those words thoroughly. Where did it come from? How many meanings does it have? Who are its known associates? Test it as every different part of speech, Then take it to some point in the future or the past, and then give it a meaning of your own. And you do all these things, and I guarantee you will begin to babble. Short lesson, because now you're on the road to speaking. Next time, bye.